Well, this is a special edition interview series continuation with a really good friend of mine that I've known for a few years now, and it's been just a joy to know such a talented, dedicated musician that is well known and well respected in the state of Colorado, period. I am here with Mr. Michael Reese, and it's always a pleasure to spend any amount of time with him. He is such a busy guy, and we're going to talk a lot about everything because he's going to be doing a special appearance at the Gold Room August 22nd for our recurring weekly Beat Goes On sessions on KCOS Digital Media. How's it going, Michael?
Good, Mark, and it's always good to hang with you too. It's good to be here, and I suppose we should just kind of talk about the show and the new band a little bit.
Well, and that's the whole thing is we've been talking for a while, and we've been playing your Spirit Machine CD on the station in rotation since you gave it to me. Probably, when was that? A couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's been a few years now.
Yeah, but
in fact, I'm trying to find my copy at home. Where did that go,
Well, the thing that we love is that when you listen to a Michael Reese or anybody's song that is published and you see it on the previously played part of the website and there's a shopping cart next to the song, you can buy any song directly through the source, whether it be CD Baby, which I know you're on, iTunes, whatever. We don't do a pass-through, period. It's just a service that the software allows us to pass on to the artist as an incentive to have us play their music.
That's great.
But the Spirit Machine CD is just, I'm a real big fan of your music, period.
Thank you, Mark.
But it is a powerful CD. It's just great music. It is the kind of music that I really like, the instrumental rock, jazz, fusion that you're particularly known for.
It's what I like. I've always been an experimental writer and guitarist. So the Spirit Machine was about the farthest out I've been as far as experimental. I did it all at home in my home studio and really had the time to create each part, and I kind of I would get in the studio and just write piece by piece on each song, and then add as I went along, and then I would listen to it for a week and find, okay, I think there's a little bit too much here, or I think this melody needs to be just tightened up a little bit, all that kind of creative stuff that keeps you in the dregs of not ever feeling like you're done.
Well, now that's an important statement because a lot of people, when I ask them about how do you compose and write, there's a myriad of answers.
Right.
But in knowing enough about the industry and people that I've talked to and stuff I've been involved with over my lifetime too, it is a lot of joy and a lot of tedious discussion, and does this work, does, just like you said, what works, and it all culminates into the amazing project that you've done called Spirit Machine. And this is probably the predominance of the set that you're going to feature on our show August 22nd, right?
Right. Can I put this up here for everybody to see?
Oh yeah,
So
Michael has done a great job of choreographing the show weeks in advance.
Now this is actually, I can't take all the credit for this. This is Jimmy Lang's work. He's an incredible artist. This is the kind of like the set we'll be doing and the notes for our rehearsals. And Jimmy and I kind of sat down, put this together, and then he went home and put this together. And Jimmy Lang's our keyboard player, and I've worked with him for, I think, around 40 years. We met in Boulder a long time ago, and we had a band called Mambo Combo, which was a great funk band that played around Boulder. And then we wouldn't see each other for like 15 years, and then we'd run back into each other and ended up finding out that we both lived in Colorado Springs here. For 10 years, we lived about 3 miles from each other and didn't know it. So he was working with the Wendy Wu band, and I went down to Blues Under the Bridge one year and to see her, and Jimmy was sitting on the back of his truck, and we reconnected. But this project is going to be a combination of some stuff off the Dragonflyer CD, which was my first CD, which ended up won Best Produced CD of the Year in the 1995 LA Music Awards, and I was also nominated Guitarist of the Year from that project.
Now I got to break in because the story that really makes me go, oh my God, you were, and I hate using the word compete, but the other people in this particular nomination was...
Oh, there were so many people, and it's been so many years that to tell you the truth, I don't remember a whole lot about the whole experience other than driving out to LA in a van and performing at the LA Music Awards. And it was a great experience. And the van broke down somewhere in Utah, and we had to, I mean, it was just one of those things, but we did get out there and performed, and came back that night and found out that that I hadn't won the Best Guitarist place, but my CD won Best Produced of the Year. So,
but I think I remember in conversation about this before that Vernon Reid was actually one of the other...
Vernon Reid was one of the other guitar players, and he's the one that won, and thank you for reminding me of that. In Living Color, was that the name of his band?
Living Color,
Living
yeah.
Color, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a great band, and he's still playing. I don't know.
Oh, man.
I've seen him. I don't know where, but I see him on YouTube every once in a while.
I remember getting chased around Bogarts in Cincinnati by security trying to take pictures of Living Color. Living Color, and those were the days.
Right.
You know, and it's where absolutely no photography was allowed, you know, for whatever reason.
Right.
But
right.
road stories could go on forever, right?
Yeah.
But Spirit Machine is, like I say, one of my favorite pieces to listen to. And every time I hear a song from the CD on the station, I just perk up, and it just gives me a rush.
Thank you, Mark.
And I know that when people do hear it, they're going to feel the same way.
Well, I hope so. And I took a long departure from that style of music. I did the Dragonflyer CD, and then shortly after that, maybe later 95 or 96, I did a Tommy Bolin tribute in Denver, and met up with some of the original players, Stan Sheldon and Tommy Stevenson from Tommy's Energy Band. And I got a call about a month later from Tommy Stevenson. He said, hey, I was just watching the video from the Tommy Bolin show, and I've got an investor who wants to put a new band together, and we'd love for you to come out, you know. And so I went out to Kansas City and we had put together the band with Stan Sheldon from Tommy Bolin and Peter Frampton's band, and Tommy Stevenson, who was one of the original members of Barnstorm, with Joe Walsh, and a drummer named Alex Velasquez, who was a drummer that Stan had been working with in Kansas. And we practiced for a while, and the investors were looking for a producer for us, and we had several choices. He asked us who we would like to produce the band, and we put in our votes, and I think the ones that we wanted were unavailable. And they said, well, we have a producer. We can't tell you who it is yet until it's confirmed, you know. So shortly after that, we found out that Michael Shreve from Santana, the drummer that played Woodstock, produced the whole album. So we had to go meet him at the airport, you know. And
darn, you had to go meet Michael Shreve.
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was great. We were walking around, and we really, you know, really didn't know what he looked like. You know, I mean, other than expecting to see the young guy that was playing Woodstock, none of us looked the same anymore. So, anyway, we found him, and then we went back and started rehearsing immediately. You know, and we had written all the tunes for the record. One was selected by one of Michael Shreve's friends, and we did that one too. But then, once the project started, we recorded it in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and then we mixed it at a place called White Horse Studios in Oregon. And we had the record company all set up, and shortly after that, the Michael Shreve's company that he produced for, which was Miramar Records, were really interested in the project, so they took over the project, and then we went from there.
Wow, that is a great description of how music actually gets made. People don't realize when they're listening to any CD project what really goes into it, as far as, yeah, you don't just do this in one location.
No.
You have to travel around, you have to interview people that are conducive to getting your product the way you want it, as opposed to the way they want it. And there's a balance between the commercial effect of the end product, right?
Yeah, and the end product is a combination. It ends up usually being a combination of everybody's input, even though contracts might say that there is no artistic input other than the artists themselves. A lot of times record companies or investors feel like they have creative say in what happens. So, you know, it's always a little give and take. On that album, the F5 Dodging the Dream Killer CD, we didn't really get to solo much on that record, which is one of the things that Tommy and I wanted to do. We wanted to solo. Michael Shreve had just produced a guitar player that was really, it was pretty much all really wild soloing. And he didn't want to have that. He almost wanted to go the opposite end, so it was very much arranged, and even the solos were pretty much arranged. You know, I mean, I did a solo on Jessica, and that was pretty much improv. And I got a little, what I want to say, friction from that because it wasn't totally worked out, you know. But it ended up being fine, and the engineer ended up saying, I really like this CD, and so we ended up keeping that solo. So it is it's just an ongoing thing of trying to get what you want without having too much outside input. And that's not to say outside input isn't always good. Sometimes people have great ideas and they can direct you in a direction that you hadn't thought of, which helps.
Well, this is real interesting to me because we are playing the Dragonflyer CD and the F5 CD that you provided us, and I'm just amazed by the quality. I mean, so you might have been a little disappointed that you didn't get to do a lot of soloing on F5, but what a powerful bunch of music that is.
Thank you.
It's concise, it's powerful. There's a video on YouTube with you and Jimmy in the studio doing some stuff on one song, and it was packaged all very well, and I know you're happy with it.
It was done really. All the packaging and artwork were done really well. We on that F5 Dodging the Dream Killer CD, we didn't have much time. The record company kind of picked the record out, and the Dodging the Dream Killers title was not, let's say maybe not greatly accepted by the record company because sometimes record companies can kind of kill your dream a little bit. They aren't always there for you.
So they took the title personally, basically?
Maybe a couple people did a little bit, and that's what I was trying to say. And we were I didn't think of the title. I just went that one of the other members of the band thought of the title, and I thought, well, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, But it was it was maybe a little gouge to the music industry. Let's just put it that way.
That's great, and there's another well-known icon here in Colorado Springs that is always posting about his angst with lawyers and record company industry people, and it seems to be a lot more deeply seated than the casual listener could ever imagine.
Yeah.
And
they can make you or break you.
Well, and that's just it. Right? It's like the volatility of the music industry these days is held into balance not by the creativity, but by decision makers that are so impartial.
Yeah. That was definitely maybe the situation a little bit with that CD. We got to a certain point and we just couldn't go any farther with the company, and that's why we ended up going to Miramar. And both of them, did fair jobs at what they were supposed to do. It's just that they had different ideas about what was going to be done on the business end of it, and so it's just the way it is sometimes. It's just the way it is. So the music is always the bottom line. When I go into the studio and record, I always make sure that the music is the most important thing. And sometimes it's hard to get in that space, if you've got like things in your life that are taking up a lot of space in your thought process. You've got to figure out a way to clear that out and just get into a creative space, which is, to me, more difficult as I'm getting older. I found that when I was younger, if I had 2 days where I didn't feel creative, I would get concerned. And now in my 30s, it was like if a week went by and I didn't have any creative or angst to play guitar, I would get worried. Now, months go by where I don't feel like I'm creating music, writing music. There are things that I don't feel. There are times when I feel particularly like I'm connecting to my guitar. And that is the bottom line for me, is when an artist connects with their instrument and they're able to express their emotions through the instrument, so that people hopefully feel that.